What's going on, everyone? Good morning and welcome to the eXp Commercial Industrial Committee. My name is Jabin Starnes. I'm here on the East Coast, the Industrial Broker, and we have Pamela Jung all the way on the other side of the country, West Coast. So we've got both sides covered. And we are really excited to introduce our guest speaker this morning. So Pam, with that being said, take it away.
Absolutely. Let Erica in the Zoom so she doesn't miss out on
Perfect.
any of this great information here. We're super excited because not only is Charles Swanberg with us today, 36 years in commercial real estate industry through banking. He actually owns commercial real estate. So he's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk, but he is the former president of the Industrial Logistics Committee, and he's gracing us with his presence for our very first interview. So we're super stoked to launch with you, Charles. And with that being said, why don't you give everybody out there a little bit of your background just so we have a better understanding?
Yeah, hey Pam and Jabin, pleasure to be here. And it's nice to be on this side of the camera or situation. Amazing to be here this morning. So yeah, I actually started off in residential. I was trying to be an airline pilot and I couldn't see red good enough. I flunked my vision exams. And me and my family just purchased a home. We sold, we had the proceeds from home in Japan, and we went out to purchase. And like most people do, I'm like, oh, I could do that. So I thought, well, this will be my career that I could do. And I went to real estate school. I hadn't graduated from college yet. I did some junior college, and trained for my license. I kind of slowed down a little bit, got a little unmotivated, then got back into it. And it took me, I think, about a year to go through all my classes, took my exam, and this was, of course, residential real estate, and started with the Grubb and Ellis Company in Northern California, and they actually did residential at the time. And after a few years, and then about 3-4 years, I moved down to Los Angeles, started a recording studio, getting a little burnt out, got back into residential real estate again. And I did my last open house, I think in 1995. And I said, enough. I heard about commercial, you wear suits and there's structure and you don't work weekends and evenings. I'm like, I'm there. So I interviewed a few places, and I'm literally, I was pounding my last open house stake sign in some stranger's yard, right? Because we didn't have A-frames as much before when we did open houses, so you get screamed at by strange neighbors, and you didn't feel like, hey, would you like to list your property? I'm trespassing and pounding an open house sign on you. Anyway, so I'm like, and it was a hot day. No one showed up at the open house. I'm like, this is enough. And I was doing a few land deals. So maybe I should try it. But it was cold turkey. I didn't straddle. I didn't try to do both. I said one day, all right, this is it, done. I had about 3 days of savings saved up for my new career. And on my second day of cold calling, I joined the Grubb and Ellis Company. And I said, hey, got any openings? Go, yeah. I got one in industrial. I said, okay. I was thinking office. I was thinking something else, but they had an opening there. And I found that it was somewhat similar to industrial, the fact that they had actually an industrial MLS in LA, and that you could talk to owners fairly easily by walking to buildings. Second place, I cold called with my manager, Kurt Strassman at the time. And I got my first lease deal and closed it in about 2.5 weeks. And I said, wow, that's it. And it's a lease deal, right? 70% of all deals we do in commercial real estate, especially industrial, are leasing. And I love it that way. So I've been doing that for a while. Did some corporate banking in between, got back. James Hong, that I knew very well through Asian Real Estate Association America. He was the national chair at one point. I was national secretary and treasurer and worked with him. And he goes, hey, I got a new gig here. No more the previous company. I'm at eXp Commercial. I said, all right, Jim, as soon as you guys get out of project mode, I'm there. So I joined in 2021 and been enjoying it ever since. And I'm glad this is exciting because we're actually doing an industrial show. There's nobody doing one. And, when I got in, I'm like, oh, who else is doing industrial? Nobody. But I'm so glad that you guys have, kept us going, and I don't have to do it anymore. Oh my gosh.
No, right? Well, we're going to take the baton and we're running with it.
Oh, that's so
and
awesome.
I love your history. It's so rich. Like you've been in the industry for so long and you've seen so many different sides of it. But
Oh, yeah.
how funny to like land in industrial so early, right? Like, I mean, in my opinion, industrial used to have this stigmatism, like it was just old and it was dirty and it was gross and no, it wasn't
Still
sexy.
is. Yeah. I mean, hey, we used to dream. We were in Vernon downtown, and we were in the kind of the uglier, lower clear, messy stuff where you couldn't move, because it was too dirty, or manufacturing. We used to dream about how the warehouses in La Mirada and Santa Fe Springs are beautiful, 24-foot clearance. Wow, back then that was like super tall, and you could stack over 4 pallets high. Wow, now everything is low clear is considered anything below 32. It seems like. But yeah, no, it's different in the perception of industrial after we've had these supply chain issues and things, and the fact that you're walking into a Home Depot or a Costco as a converted warehouse anyway these days. So people gotten used to it, but people were used to commercial real estate on places they would go, right? They go to the doctor's office, they go to their office, they go to retail, but they never thought of industrial because you'd have to kind of drive out into the area that was funky, or the warehouse district. But perceptions, Pam, definitely changed, right?
Oh, absolutely. I especially think after COVID, and I can only speak surely about Las Vegas because that's my hometown and that's where I live and that's my boots on the ground. But our industrial has gotten pretty damn sexy. I mean, it's high tech. It's beautiful. You look at some of these industrial buildings, and you feel like you're in a cross between a WeWork and I don't even know. I mean, they're absolutely sexy. So we're seeing the revolution of industrial real estate, I think, all across the country. What are you guys experiencing?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're seeing there was a point where some of the industrial was taken out for residential, and then suddenly they needed more of it, right? I mean, there was a movement to go creative office, right, where the office space was too expensive, so they took out warehouses in the outlying areas and made them creative office, right? Because that was a cheaper solution. But then it went the other way. The creative office space became more expensive than the office space now, and it is the way it is now, right? You've got office buildings that are 50% vacant and industrial with only 2 to 4% vacancy. So yeah, things have changed.
So that's interesting because in Las Vegas, we're experiencing about the same number for vacancy. I think the max we ever hit is 4% vacancy. And I don't even know how true that is because if you look at that 4% vacancy, typically there's already leasing and sales and stuff like that baked in. It's just not of record yet, right? So, I mean, we've got hundreds of millions of square feet online to be built right now. And time will tell if we're going to oversaturate, but it doesn't look like there's any slowdown, regardless of what's going on in other sectors of commercial real estate for industrial right now, as far as I can see.
Yeah, and you hear the news out there, and you see, with the bank issues. I was talking to someone from a bank and she was telling me yesterday, she's going, "We're the 6th largest bank," and I said, "Wait a minute, I think you're now the 5th largest bank in the country." With the most recent bank failure there. But there's a lot of headlines out there. Commercial real estate's in trouble, and I'm looking at like, man, well, I don't know about you guys, but it's not industrial. And they're talking about office buildings, but they kind of lump it into where it's all going to crash. And I mean, strip retail is doing pretty well. I mean, can you find a multifamily deal to even buy or sell? I mean, the other sectors are pretty good. I mean, hotels and I think hospitality are still having some, maybe some struggles or issues. But to get lumped into what the office market is, being experienced is kind of too bad. But maybe it's a secret we need to keep.
I know, right? Industrial is our gig.
Industrial
Well,
is
it's
bad.
funny.
Don't get into it. It's
Don't
dirty
get
and
into it.
no
It's
fun.
awful.
Dominated by men.
That's what Pam's here for. That's what she's here.
I love what you said too, because when people ask me how's the market, it's like, what part of the market? Like there are so many different asset classes and they'll be like office. Well, okay, what part of office? Because here's what I can tell you is that, yeah, our older office buildings, the more traditional ones that have been around for 30, 40 years, they're struggling for sure. And redevelopment is the key in most of these sectors. However, our new office it's getting leased before it's even built. There is no vacancy. There is no room at the inn for new office being developed on the West Coast. So, like it's those vague questions. They don't serve anybody because you can't generalize commercial real estate, right? You really have to look at asset classes, investment types, and kind of break it all down from there.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if they're resi commercial and experience when you ask them, oh, what kind of real estate do you, and they say commercial. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? Do you lease out post offices, or do you develop airports, or what do you do? Yeah, but to get lumped into just that one, it's just, well, that's the beauty of it. Everything that's not residential is commercial real estate, right? Everything. So.
Talk to us a little bit about leasing. We're seeing, some changes in lease structures. We're seeing like everything pass through from the landlord to the tenant now. Lots of triple net leases. And you said it earlier, you said it best. Leasing is a huge portion of what we do in commercial real estate, and it's a viable portion. I mean, you can make some very good commissions leasing industrial real estate.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting how you kind of say, well, hey guys, you can make money in leasing too. And I'm looking at it going, that's all we make money in. I mean, it was even more than 70% in our business. But the beauty of it being in industrial is you do a little bit of both, right? And when the market is a little bit more leaning towards maybe, leasing, we're fine, selling, it's fine. So, you do 35,000 square feet at $1.85 or $22, a year on a medium to smaller size, warehouse of 35,000 square feet, nothing brand new and new. Even a short-term 3-year deal is a $2.5 million pop, that's 60 grand. And so it's not bad, right? You do a couple of those a month,
I'll take it.
Yeah. So, and then I always look at people like we're in a shopping center or like a large retail center and say, how often do you think this place sells, but how often are these tenants moving in and out? So no, by certain there's and leasing is the thing that's different, from the residential, especially in the transition, because, lease document more often is far more complicated and complex and more pages than a sales document. The sales document's there to basically, hurt or direct a deal 30 to 90 days, and that's it, right? A lease document's got to last 10, 15, 20 years. So there's more provisions, more complicated, not as familiar to, a residential folks that are doing sales all the time. And, a commercial sale is not terribly different from a residential sale. So I think that's really the key aspect of any commercial real estate, especially if you're repping tenant rep on office or retail. I mean, majority of that obviously is leasing.
Yeah, and I think leasing is always a fun way for people to start a career in commercial real estate, right? Like get out there, do some tenant rep, learn to understand the mindset of the landlord, the mindset of the tenant. How do you build, shopping centers and retail spaces that will maximize the landlord's profit and usability, right? Like really getting in there and understanding. I think leasing is the best way to learn any kind of commercial real estate.
Yeah, and it's the fastest way to a deal. I mean, you have a tenant that doesn't want space but needs space. I've got 16 containers stuck at the port. I need immediate occupancy, like today. When can I get the keys? Can I write the check? And there's how long is the loan contingency on a lease?
Right, 0.
How long is escrow on a lease? How long is the appraisal contingency in the phase one? I mean, come on, man. It's like get the terms on an LOI, spit it out and get leases out and get them moved in. And hopefully you get the check soon. Sometimes there's a delay, and usually it's the bigger the landlord and tenant, the slower they pay.
Totally. But and that's what we love about eXp too, right? Is because most of the time we'll get paid on ACH. Just give us a copy of the check. So even though
I was really impressed. Yeah, the eXp part, less than 24 hours. It was my experience in my first lease deal that I did, and of course everything before that was a little different, and that's a little different these days. You're used to picking up paper checks before. Once in a while it'd be a wire. But now some companies are using bill pay companies where you've got to invoice the bill pay company. So you got to like sign up to get paid. And I'm like going, okay, new technology. And even a lot of companies like eXp are kind of experiencing, hey, we're getting a little more of this. So it's not the exception anymore. But all aside, it's leasing is, it's something to really separate, I think.
Well, I have a burning question because I'm going to go all the way back to when we started this little Zoom, this little interview here. You said you got paid on your first lease deal in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks. I think it was a record because, it was, I just got lucky. We literally said, let's go cold calling. And cold calling in industrial, we think of as, well, some people think we're just banging on the phones. And, how often are you going to meet the owner of a 100-unit apartment building on site, right? You show up and knock on the door, maybe on the 99th door, the owner's there. Of course, they don't live there on site. Same with retail centers, office buildings, but you show up, on a Friday afternoon and a brand new Mercedes is parked in a parking lot of an industrial building. And I mean, come on, the owner's there, right? So it's much easier to get in front of owner users that actually are using a purpose. And I love the fact in industrial that you get to work with that a lot more than the investment side, right? And yeah, I mean, the original question as far as how is the leasing structure a little different with the triple net leases and things. And I guess it depends more on how old the building is, how brand new it is, if they're going to reposition it for sale. Always looks sexy to have a triple net lease building as opposed to, a gross lease. But, who wants to lease a triple net building that's 40 years old or 60 years old, right? When stuff is falling apart. I'm like, what can the triple nets be more than the rent? So yeah, I think that's a strategy. But I think, and a lot of people coming into commercial real estate sometimes think that triple net leases are more expensive because you're paying for other stuff. But they don't realize that, if you equate the rate of a triple net lease to a gross lease, they're different, right? We even charge more commission on triple net leases because the base rent is lower than on a gross lease. And the fact that a gross lease, people think, well, you're stuck paying your own expenses and things, but most gross leases, especially in AIR contracts, have a provision where you can pass on the increases of your insurance and taxes and things. So in a kind of way, it turns into like a modified gross to where, that happens. But hey, that's a different class. So I digress. But
I like, and Charles,
right? Yeah.
that was interesting. I know we chatted about that earlier too. Are you starting to see that more with having different fee structures depending on the type of lease that you're securing? Is that trending upwards, or is that something you've always done?
In some sense, maybe it's trending downward. Maybe it's going back up because there are more properties now, in the industrial space that are because there's a lot more new construction things, and they are owned by REITs and things, and so yeah, they are offered on a triple net basis. And you're kind of getting, I'm not saying JIP, but if it could be, $1 a foot or so in triple nets, and especially in retail deals, I mean, it could be 1/3 of the rent that the tenant is paying. So is that equate to the same? And so back in the day, we would have a lease structure that would be more a commission schedule would be more on a triple net lease than a gross. It would just be both there at the same time, so you saw the difference, so it'd be no confusion. So you wouldn't have someone, oh, we signed up for a gross lease, I'll just do a triple net deal and save 20%, 30% on my commission, right? So is that fair? It's like these leases that are 61-month leases or 62-month leases or 37, 38-month leases, and people are like, why are they structured that way? Well, because if we're giving away free rent, we make up for it, right, in the lease term. So no, I think that's a valid point, but I don't know how many people are doing it.
Yeah, we can all just band together and universally decide.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's allowed, but no, basically, you just have to look at deal per deal and see what's fair. And, in some parts of the country, compensation is lopsided. There's a little bit more on the tenancy side than on the landlord side. But California's fairly evenly split. I know the office guys have a little different structure. But hey, there's plenty to go around with. And but that is one of the questions you've got to ask. I think most people when they're transitioning from residential to commercial is they don't ask what the comp is or if there's any. You know, I mean, CoStar and these databases that we use are just databases. They're not MLSs that have a guarantee of subagency and that you're going to get paid on. So the first thing you ask for is, hey, you have any leases out or LOIs? Or is it available? And what's the broker comp on it? And don't be afraid to ask. That should be one of the three things you should ask when you're asking for availability.
I'm going to suggest that any landlord rep doesn't even respect you if you don't ask. It's expected.
They're going to be like, oh, yeah, they're kind of like, yeah, no, I mean, if you ask the right questions, use the right acronyms, they think you've been in business for 20 years and they go, wow, why haven't I heard about you, right?
100%. And you said something earlier, you know, it makes, as an agent, as a broker, make sure you're reading your leases on behalf of your tenants, because there are so many nuances in there, right? And, you know, I remember us getting caught up in a first-time leaser of warehouse space, and they were this gym and they were excited and we had a great time. I think my partner spent literally 3 hours with them going through the lease. And then every time something popped up, they would be like, oh my God, what's going on? We didn't know this, right? So you talked about that pass through of expenses, right, when taxes and insurance go up. You know, there's these clauses in there that at the end of the year, the management company gets to reevaluate actual expenses and they bill or they credit, right?
Right.
So
right.
Our clients got this bill at the end of the year for $1,800, which just knocked their socks off. And I'm like, it's only $1,800. It's $1,800.
Yeah. Pam didn't tell me about this. Let's see. It is, it needs to be explained. And sometimes it's like a, black art to figure out how they come up with these numbers, but, to understand it. And in a lot of like retail leases, it'll say, what is the expected first year CAM and things. So most triple net leases do accommodate for that. But, especially on a first time tenant on a, sophisticated lease, kind of have to go through it and see what each of these things mean. Whenever we go from an LOI transition to leases, and you're representing the tenant, it's always usually the landlord side that comes up with the leases. They'll miss stuff. Yesterday I caught an option that was only a 1-5 year instead of the 2 that we agreed upon, and you let that slip. I mean, how are you going to walk that back? Ouch. And so you do have to be careful about those things and check and make sure the increases are as they are planned. With 8%, what you call it, hikes in CPI and all that stuff and inflation. We were wondering, what are these leases going to be written out? Are they going to go to like 7-year increases per year, or are they going to think that's kind of an anomaly? And it seemed like most leases that got negotiated, recently have seen, well, the 6-7% is not something all the way normal. So I just did a deal with only 3% bumps per year. And then sometimes instead of doing a annual 5%, maybe you throw in 7%, every 18 months, maybe get a little bit better. Hey, just use whatever you can, because if you're not going to get any free rent, you're going to get something out of it. Very, very important to look at the basic terms. Most people renting for the first time don't realize that options and things of that nature are personal to the lease. When you sublease, those things kind of go away. So, I'll just sublease it if I can't make it. And then they realize most of the value in that lease is kind of watered down because of it. Those are things that you kind of learn. And you got people like, us, Pam, Frank, and Jabin, and us to ask about before you get into one of these things. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the great thing about eXp Commercial as well. Is like when I owned my own boutique firm, it's like every other brokerage house wanted to be like the enemy. We were like battling against one another. I love collaboration. I couldn't find many other companies that did. And then eXp Commercial is just really special because, we're 87,000 agents strong, a combination of business brokers, commercial agents, residential agents that thrive on collaboration. It's nuts,
And it's one roof. And I think that's what makes it cohesive, because you're not working for a franchise, out of state or down the street, that matter, that, if I worked at the other firms that are franchised and I popped into a common franchise, office, they'd be like, what are you doing here? You would be the enemy. But I'm telling you, in industrial world of, maybe not so much the other disciplines perhaps, but if you ask an honest question, a lot of our terms and deals are not put on, they're not advertised, right? There's no pricing on some of these things, undisclosed or whatever you want to call it. So, you could call or email a broker and say, hey, look, and we all call each other brokers. I know there's a difference between sales and, broker, whatever, in residential, but we call each other we're just brokering, right? But you could ask for deal guidance. And that's what I usually do. If, I'll just ask, one of my 3 or 4 questions, hey, is it available? You got any leaks? Not just if it's available, it could be available and have 4 leases out for signature, right? There's a difference between available and no one's seen it for, no one's even called on it for 3 weeks, or you got 2 LOIs out and a set of leases out. So you need to find that out first. You need to find out when you can move in, or the occupancy date, and then the comp, and also give me some deal guidance, what they're looking for. And they'll tell you, they'll write 2 paragraphs. Yeah, my guy's looking for at least a 5-year deal. You might get maybe 1 month of rent abatement, and he's looking for 3% bumps and blah, blah. I mean, he'll tell you how to do the deal or what he's looking for, because they want to do the deal. They don't want to sit there and go, oh, you're with that other firm. Good luck.
Exactly.
No, they want to, obviously help. And if they know you, that's even better. Or if they know that you know somebody that you're working with, if they don't know you're new in the business, then it changes the dynamic significantly.
Yeah, I mean, third-party validation, leverage your assets, right? So if you don't know something, go to somebody in eXp that does know, and they're usually more than willing to help you. Hey, I want to go off kilter a little bit here and talk about something. I'm an old dog. I'm not going to call you an old dog because you look great, but you've been in the industry. You've been in the industry for 36 years. There's like this new vernacular and terminology going on in industrial real estate. Some of it I'm like, okay, I've been doing this forever and I don't know what you're talking about. Are you experiencing any new lingo out there? What does this all mean?
Yeah, once in a while you'll get a few things added in that kind of catches you off guard. I think I got drive-ins kind of caught off guard. I'm like, what do you mean, ground level doors? I that was the one thing that, and I mean, I've known 3PL for a while, and so that, and then there's a multifamily term that's kind of, I've been hearing sometimes. It's that can't remember what it is, some sort of rental kind of income stream kind of factor. I can't remember what it was, but if it's an investment property, most industrial investments are single tenant, so it's pretty simple, right? Vacancy factor is 100% when no one's in it, right? And then you got load factors and all this kind of stuff that I guess could apply to industrial, but we don't. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that is sometimes misunderstood, and an example of, you don't know what you don't know sometimes in these disciplines, even in industrial, was had a sale where there was an interior enclosed in truck well, but it was enclosed by walls. It was open on one end, right? And so in most of the country, and especially in Southern California, we count that as square footage. That's, part of the building sale, the footprint. But some appraisers will not count that. They'll just measure and go, oh, that's kind of exterior dock. And, do you count that in the lease? Well, we have, in some groups have standards, BOMA has standards for their office building stuff, and how they measure it. So, an experienced industrial broker had a listing, and an inexperienced residential agent came in with the offer. And of course, the residential agent didn't realize that might not be included in a square footage as far as an appraisal is concerned. And the experienced agent assumed that the other agent knew and didn't even mention it. So the appraisal comes in, and of course, it is about a commission short on the value. And unfortunately, the seller's agent kicked in most of it. It was about $110,000, painful, but they did it because there was another end on a downleg on a 1031 that they needed to keep alive. So yeah, ouch, that's something, and maybe not terminology, but something you really need to know, and the nuances. Otherwise, it could be quite painful. But yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. In my group, on my team, when we have residential agents bring us deals, offers, LOIs, whatever it is, because like you said earlier, commission is not really disclosed on these syndicated sites like CoStar and LoopNet and Crexi Pro and, you know, RealNext and all these sites. We have a policy in the office, and I hope this doesn't turn anybody off out there because it is absolutely prudent on our end. We don't pay residential agents as much as we pay fellow experts in the commercial industry. Because
Interesting.
why? Because we know on our team that if we take this deal, if this is the best deal for our client, we're going to take it, and we are going to have to work our ass off twice as hard, and we're going to have to inspect everything because the residential agent doesn't know what they don't know. And it's not that they're bad, it's not that they're right or wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It has the level of, it's all to do with the level amount of work we're going to have to put in the deal, and we know it's a little riskier. So we don't pay residential agents as much, and we disclose that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think what you mean is, and you know, that seems a bit like abrupt, right? We're not going to pay you as much. You guys don't deserve it. Well, I think what they don't realize is that the referral structure, at least from our end, is completely different than the typical residential referral. They're expecting 25% for anything. I don't care if it's a name and number they found in the trash can or someone that they've been working with for 20 years that needs a requirement. So usually in commercial, we 10% maximum for name and number, and that's what usually it is. And they're expecting 25 to 30% for name and number. All right. So when it gets to 20% to 20 to 30%, it's usually it needs to be an existing client that they've worked with that has an immediate need. And usually anything above 25% is a deal handed on a platter. I'll sign list, say, hey, can you guys do this? Or here's a deal. It's negotiated, go clean it up, fix it. And usually anything above 35 to 40% is a co-broker deal. And, you have to understand who's doing what, right? You're going to write the deal up, you're going to market it, you're going to tour it. There needs to be some sort of split, because in the end, if there is nothing done, or, hey, I want to learn industrial, can I, shadow you and co-broker you on this deal? And, if they brought the deal and it's a viable deal, that's the difference, right? I mean, in commercial real estate, the biggest thing that most residential agents don't realize is it's not about you. It's not your face is not going to be on bus stops and postcards and everything. In commercial real estate, it's all about the property. You could be in the business for 1 week. If you have the property somebody wants, they're going to be your best friend. They don't care. In residential real estate, if you've been in the business for a week and you have no track record, good luck getting that $10 million luxury listing when you've got 20 people clamoring all over it. But in commercial real estate, it doesn't matter. You could show up in a dirty t-shirt. If you got the property or you have that know-how that they absolutely need, right? I mean, they don't care how popular you are, or they've never heard of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. You just got to know your business, right? Educate, lead gen.
Or bring somebody in that does. Hey,
Right. Well, and I love what you said too. There's a difference between a lead and a referral. That's kind of like the vernacular, the explanation that we use on the team. There's a huge difference between a lead and a referral. A lead is like somebody with a pulse that you think might do something, right? And I want 25% for that.
Yeah.
I'm not able to pay 25% for a lead because I've got to build trust. I have to create value. I've got to vet them out. I don't even know if they qualify. So I don't want to go down some rabbit hole because you've got like an internet hit or something of that nature. A referral is somebody that is ready to transact and handed to you.
Right. And that's the biggest misnomer, to where if you asked any commercial practitioner, industrial or whatever discipline, they're daily talking to people that are far greater and warmer than a lead. And honestly, do they have time to run around with a unqualified lead? I mean, I don't.
No.
I mean, I only do it for a matter of convenience, or being cordial or nice, or just helpful. But I know that I'm looking at lead and like, I don't know who these guys are. It's not like in my marketplace. Why do I need to chase around in hopes of something with this? It's kind of more of a nuisance, unfortunately. So if you guys are expecting 25% out there for from your commercial practitioners, do some legwork and get that lead into a real deal. Otherwise, we have plenty of leads ourselves. We can open up, we can go on the internet and type in industrial building and there'll be addresses. We got leads. There's telephone numbers listed. We got that.
So Charles, we're getting close to the end. I want to end with two questions before we open this up for Q&A. What do you think, and I always love to end on a positive because nobody wants to end on a negative.
It's all positive.
So what do you think our biggest challenges in the industrial market are today? And then what do you think is wonderful, our greatest attributes about the industrial market today? We'll start with challenges.
Yeah, I think in some ways we're a little behind in technology and the transaction part. I mean, we just started using electronic signatures only a few years ago. And some of the things that we do is maybe some old fashioned. We still have leases that we want wet signatures on. We still use cashier checks sometimes. With all these wire fraud issues, probably not a bad idea these days. But as far as challenges go, we had some short inventory that was really making things difficult. We had 30 LOIs in each property. It was really, bewildering to be working with the tenant at one time. But those were market challenges. I can't think of too many negatives really in industrial. It's just all, rainbows and, daisies. But, it could, because I'm thinking about, I don't go every day, oh, damn, I got to do industrial. I'm like, I want to do industrial. I'm getting all these other deals. And I'm like, oh man, just give me a nice, simple warehouse with somebody that needs space and I'm good. But, I think one of the challenge, which equates to any other user, is credit quality sometimes. And you have a lot of companies that are new, that have only been in business for a while overseas, have no guarantor that's worth a salt, have no, tax ID number on the guarantor, let alone a driver's license, limited funds. How do you get those guys, approved by a landlord that needs the space? I'm getting callbacks from, hey, Charles, you clicked on this, thing 3 months ago. You still run around with your tenant. I'm like, wow, the market has shifted a little bit, in the tenant's favor. I was like, wow, it's still available. But we just there's always ways to mitigate deals. We love to solve problems, right? There's not a deal we can't figure out how to work and do. And in industrial, there's plenty of creativity involved, as in many other disciplines. But whether it's coming up with 6 months rent and burning off most of it until you get to too much deposit to get a tenant in without any credit, doing a SBLC or a standby letter of credit. If they have cash but no credit, a lot of landlords don't want to take these huge deposits or upfront rent because they've got loans that prevent them from collecting more than a year's worth of rent upfront. So they'll say, hey, go get that, take that $1 million you have in the bank and go put it in, call your bank and get a line of credit, backed by your cash, and then carve out a letter of credit and use the letter of credit to guarantee part of the lease. And that's how we had deals with minimal or no credit or no work, no operating history to do. So anyway, that's some of the challenges that we deal with. And, flaky tenants and people that, are working with 40, agents and you're the 41st one that they called you. I mean, it's the same in other disciplines that we deal with, and we know, I mean, after a few minutes, we know if the guy's real, if he's been talking to 100 people, I think those are similar challenges that we encounter in all real estate, including residential. But when do I get to talk to the good part?
Please go now.
Okay. Yeah, the good part is it's a simple discipline in some sense. We overly just complicate things, but it's simple. There's a lot of product knowledge that will take you years to figure out and know, whether you're talking about sprinkler calculations or how big the explosion room is, or are draft curtains necessary, or do these load levels, are they adequate? Is the power adequate? I mean, do you need 3-wire? Do you need 4-wire? Whatever. I mean, just bring us along, or call one of us and you have that instant knowledge. But it's a people business. It's easy to learn. I think it's great that a lot more women are getting involved in industrial. I think that's awesome because it was fairly well, male dominated, I guess you could say. But there's always a few, and they stood out and they knew their stuff and well respected. So, yeah, I think industrial. It's on the lease side, it's quick and easy to do the deal. On the sales side, it's simple. You're going to have some environmental possibly reports that you'll have to deal with and maybe challenges, not unlike a gas station or retail or, like a dry cleaner. But most of the people involved in industrial are down to earth people that just want to do business, have a building to do it in, whether they're renting or buying. And, it's not as complicated as dealing with somebody, from halfway across the country worrying about a cap rate, or, they're running out of time on the identification on 1031 that they're going to have to go to a DSD. And these guys just want to move in and run their business. And it's so much more rewarding to do that than have some investor tick off a box. Of course, if you're getting paid the same, I guess it's okay. But it's the satisfaction of doing it. And industrial's here to stay. When business is bad and stuff is piling up in warehouses, they still need the warehouse. Of course they do. If business is booming and stuff is flying through there like crazy, they still need the warehouse. And plus we could go the leasing route or the sales route. And dare I say, it's kind of like, recession proof kind of business,
Say it. I dare you to say it, Charles.
Okay, I think it really is because we can morph into what part of
Grabbing
our
that.
industrial industry is good, because I'm telling you, I do so much better when the market is uncertain and starts tanking for other stuff. But it's whatever you make it. I got in real estate it had about 2 years left before it kind of crashed in some ways back in the late 80s. And I've experienced several ups and downs. But if you consider you're out there trying to help people, whether they're having tough times in business or expanding, use similar skill sets to get them in the space and provide some work.
I love that. I love how you just wrap that whole thing up in a bow. And I agree with you 100%. Industrial real estate is here to stay. I mean, COVID changed everything in how we do business, right? So we've got the old industrial, we have the new way of industrial, the Amazon effect and everything that's going on. So it's a hot market. It's a great market. It's a fun market. It's a sexy market. And, it's one that with a little, I think industrial is so sexy.
Oh, yeah, 36-foot clears, CTU,
Big
concrete tilt top, and brand new. I mean, oh man,
it's sexy. So thank you so much for everything. And I would love to open it up for any Q&A from the audience, because we do have just a couple minutes left and we've got some people out there. And if you would like to ask a question of Charles, please just go ahead and unmute yourself and do so.
Frankie, is that Paris back there? Oh, that's pretty nice.
Oh, this is. I have a question for you, Charles. I wanted to know if you do you consistently get new business, or do you kind of have like a handful of the same clients that you work with over and over and over again, or is it a little of both?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. I always think you should mix it up. The one thing that is advantageous on leasing is, think about it. You get to be in with a landlord or two or three that own several buildings. I mean, okay, so you lease one space to theirs for 3 years. I mean, you keep that relationship, you're getting it back after 3 years. You could literally say this landlord's going to provide me millions of dollars of income over the next 10 years. Whereas if you're hopping around from buyer to buyer with 7 or 10 years, in between sales, like in residential stuff, but in the leasing world, when you really start establishing yourself, in a particular area or industry with the landlords, I mean, you have an income stream, if you keep that alive. Running around with the buyers and things is great, and investors, but they're buying when the market is good to buy, and they're not when they're not. And it's when the building is coming up for lease in 3 years or 5 years, which is typically on an industrial lease, you could I'm not saying you should cash your check at that point, but you have a pretty good idea of an income stream, and it could outlast you, for the next 20, 30 years.
So then I'd like to ask another question. So do you think industrial real estate is relational based?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the landlords. It's, what does that mean, right? You have to have some sort of relationship to a transaction, obviously. But a lot of investors are not very picky on who they work with. They just want a cap rate and a certain criteria what they're looking for. And like I said, they can know you for 20 years or not. If you don't have the property, you're not going to not buy it, right? But in user needs, especially, they like to go to who they like and know and trust, right? So it's, you call that obviously a relationship. And you'll get a call and say, hey, Charles, I need this, and that, or my tenant's thinking of leaving, he's going to expand. Can you help me out? So yeah, that's golden.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions out there, anyone?
Hey, this is Erica in Montana. How's it going?
Hi,
Hey.
Erica.
Hi. I learned so much. Thanks, you guys. Let's see, I'm very specialized in cannabis. So it's a mix of industrial, retail, and business brokering. Tons of fun. And Montana just went recreational about a year and a half ago. So really, hot business up here. And so I'd love to, I hear you, Pam. I love to collaborate. And I was a brand new agent, got my COVID license or whatever. I did one land deal on the eXp realty side, and then came over to commercial. So I just really love it. And collaboration is getting deals done up here and getting me and my favorite agents paid. I have a whole group of stoner agents called the Joint Committee. And they're
Donor
amazing.
agents, I love it.
Yes.
By the way, my
donor
birthday is 4/20, just in case.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
My dog Bud also has that birthday. That's very sweet. Yeah, so, yep, 420 friendly agents. And I was the first and I'm pretty much the only to eXp Commercial Montana. So I've collaborated a lot with my joint committee team to get some great deals. One of them just brought me a gorgeous commercial listing right on the lake, like perfect time of the year, So we're having a lot of fun with what we do up here, but I absolutely love Las Vegas. I think Montana's the best place on earth, but we have this pretty long winter up here, and love to go to Vegas. I'm going to come down this month for the ICSC. So Pam, I'd love to meet you, take you to dinner, or if you'd like to come to the ICSC with me, I'd love to have somebody to go with. So.
Hey,
We're going.
ICSC, right? Yeah, I mean, us industrial guys used to go, hey, ICSC. Not a whole lot of industrial there, but they got the amazing parties. So that's all.
Yeah,
but there are landlords and owners there now that it's kind of changed a little bit, right? And Erica, you were mentioning about the cannabis industry and stuff. I just displaced a cannabis user that had put in over $1 million in TI work a year and a half ago in 35,000 square feet of a warehouse, and decided to just pack it up and stop producing. They were producing edibles and candies and things, and was replaced by somebody that was selling shoes and dresses. So, I'm seeing, the cannabis industry in some of these states, especially in California, are getting really hit hard and just closing shop, and maybe some of the other states are doing, but definitely a very specialized sector in, you could say, largely industrial, if they're doing, cultivation and extraction and stuff. But that could be a whole show, and
We could do a whole episode on that.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it is a I've walked into buildings that say, hey, we're trying to sell it, you want to check it out? I'll go in, and then I see cannabis growing. They didn't even tell me. So I've seen it all. And it's kind of fun, but it is challenging because of the fact that they can't touch, in some sense, banking and the federal side, right? They, even on a lease, they have to encapsulate
Yes.
with, several entities where somebody can actually write rent checks and collect and all that stuff. And then they've got another LLC, then another one. So it can get a little challenging, get all those people on the same page, and, even just get an insurance cert out, to cover people. You have to have 3 of them instead, and you got to get 3 separate companies to get on a Zoom and explain what they need. And yeah, it could be a little brain damage, but that's what
Mhm.
20 is for, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Erica. And we look forward to seeing you out here for sure. I'm going to work chat you so we can make it a point to meet when you get out here. That's going to be fun. I have a feeling you're going to be a lot of fun. So,
Oh yeah.
do we have any other questions out there for Charles?
Yeah, I got one more. So Charles, when you were working with buyers and some investors here and there, do you ever invest in deals with them, or do you just keep it strictly commission?
Well, you think about it, right? Like, if you're charging commission, let's just arbitrarily pick 6%. Well, you could be a 6% owner, right? I mean, I was looking at a business where it was a 10%, kind of commission. I'm like, I could be 10% owner right here. I mean, it is enticing to get involved with. I've been involved with some multi-tenant industrial properties and stuff. I've kind of divested just recently, but this, although what's amazing about the eXp is we own part of the company, right? We're paid in stock and things, and that's great. But one of the things you do in the real estate career, whether it's residential, is you start building your own portfolio because you are in the know. I mean, you will get and hear about deals before the whole rest of the world will. So why not? And you already have, if you're already either going to get paid on it or you're going to buy it. I mean, even in the residential side on FHA, if you're getting 3%, outgoing and it's 3.5% down, it's cheaper than leasing. It's 1% to 0.5% to get into your own property, your own home. In industrial, I mean, you could do an SBA loan if you're going to be part of a business or maybe a partnership at 51% and come in with only 10% down. If you've got a listing and you're charging 5 to 6%, well, you could be the 50% partner, right, in a deal. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to do that and, become a landlord.
That's a good point, Frankie. I think every broker should, it's kind of like, you're a hypocrite if you're, selling real estate to everybody, you don't even own any.
Right.
I did have one question before we jump. I wanted to get your thoughts on how are the capital markets treating industrial as an asset class, specifically in comparison. I know there's a tightening across the board, but in comparison to other asset classes, how do you feel like industrial stacking up in the capital markets? Where are you seeing the most tightening? At what deal sizes and portfolio sizes are you seeing that tighten the most? And just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, boy, this is like a high level kind of, it almost went like, capital markets and stuff. No, I mean, so, to the first part of your question, as far as what's the mood there, they tightening, and they're still okay with industrial. Industrial has typically been, there's been more risk perceived than your AAA or low cap rate multifamily example, because you have 100 unit, building and you got 5 tenants that leave, you've got 5% vacancy. You've got a single tenant industrial building, and it takes 3 months to lease out. You've got, dare I say 20% vacancy because it was empty for a short while. So, the banks or the capital markets do not offer as, high leverage on industrial product. Multifamily go up to 80%. These days, it doesn't matter because none of it cash flows out to 80%. It's all debt coverage ratio limited. So, even though the bank will say they'll loan up to 80%, it's going to be priced to the point where it's not going to cover 1-to-1, for maybe, less than 40% down, if that. An industrial building on an investment size, you're probably not going to get it to cover on, debt coverage ratio type of lending, which is what all commercial real estate is usually based on, except for maybe some SBA product. you're not going to get, you're going to have to put down at least 45% to 50% down to get it in there. And a lot of these guys coming out of a 1031 is not a problem because that's, you know, they've got to actually match debt, right? It's not just bringing over the equity. So that's usually not a problem in that sphere. But they are, you know, banks are tightening up on everything. And we've got bank failures, real live bank failures. And unfortunately, they're kind of blaming it on real estate. Oh, commercial real estate's having a tough time. No, you guys lent on risky stuff. It's not the property's problem, I think, you know, it's the bank's practices. So they've definitely tightened up things. As far as portfolios and things go, you got the largest, or Prologis is the largest owner of industrial properties and in portfolios, and they have not stopped. They recently taken down some massive portfolios. You know, industrial investing is not just for the big institutional players. I mean, you could individually get together and buy a few small buildings. There's plenty of multi-tenant incubator style, you know, setups you could buy. You could invest in a DST that specializes in industrial. You know, our partner Tommy Thompson, they've got a you know, 1 million square foot Amazon fulfillment center that you could DST into. So that's a form of getting into it. But all different sizes that come to the market to invest, all types of portfolio sizes. It's not limited to these huge, you know, 20 million square foot portfolios anymore. Some of the small, obviously the REITs aren't going to take on small stuff that make no sense. But yeah, it's definitely, people realize the importance of industrial real estate, especially with supply chain issues, and they realize it's an integral part of the economy. You know, that is viable. It's just, they're going to have different, you know, cap rates and expected rates of return on it, simply because of the lack of, you know, the, I guess, tenant mix and stuff sometimes.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Charles, you have been an absolute delight. You are a wealth of information. Your industrial knowledge is superior. It crosses the whole entire country. And we absolutely loved having you. We just have a couple minutes. So Frankie and Jabin, I'm putting you on the spot. You each have 30 seconds as our industrial logistics committee chairs to bring us home. Whatever you want to say to everybody out there that loves industrial real estate as much as I do.
Frankie, you or me first. You were late to the call, so you go first. All righty. Well, I just want to thank everybody who is on the call, and keep tuning in. We'll continue to have these meetings and have you know, more and more guests on to talk about industrial and the market and everything else in the commercial real estate world. And if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Beautiful. And as always, we are going to be doing these calls on the first and third Tuesday of every month, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the goal is to just bring brokers together, investors and industry leaders, to talk about trends and best practices and just talk shop and industrial real estate. So really excited for this year and looking forward to growing this.
Hey, quick plug is on every second Tuesday in eXp, where we're going to be expanding it out to actually probably out to Zoom and the public, is we still have an industrial, basically from LOIs to closed deals, industrial kind of, you know, a knowledge kind of Zoom show. So more and more can join us. So yeah, let's get the industrial.
Let's push it.
Yeah, it's amazing, you guys too. It's very, very well delivered, very, you know, layman's terms. Everybody can understand it. I enjoyed it.
Beautiful. Let's grow this.
Love it. So thank you for all you do out there for us, Charles. And thank you everybody that tuned in, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, it's not going to be interview style. It's going to be a lot of market data and stats, but we're going to make it fun. So tune in.
Love it.
Peace out, everybody. Go make some money. Have fun out there.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.